Uh-huh.
And then we have to get out of it or you'll echo.
Mm-hmm.
You should launch a video over here. Okay.
It's live.
I don't see myself.
Oh, that one.
I see the judge and what's his name. So it's not telling me to do anything. This is live on YouTube.
Well,
Other one. There we go. Huh?
does it take a minute?
Comes up here. I was having that. Okay, yeah, click on that, I think. That right there. Yeah.
There we go.
Let's see if we can hear. Can you hear us now?
There you go.
We can.
Yes,
wait.
I can hear you.
They can't. I can't hear them.
There we go.
Oh, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
All right. Let's see.
Indeed.
This is case 2020-647011. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm showing that no defendant has joined us this morning, have they?
I'm here.
Lisa,
Can
no.
you not hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. No defendant has joined us this morning, Lisa, have they?
He can't hear you apparently.
Are you not a judge? Can you not hear me?
Oh, yes, yes. And tell me your name.
Tom Quinn.
Okay. All right.
Can you not see me?
No, we cannot see you. Are you,
I'm on a computer. I don't know what I need to be doing though.
okay. Lisa,
Video.
Yes.
There it is.
There you go.
okay. Now we're
All right.
We're just waiting on our attorney.
We're just waiting on my attorney.
oh, you are. Okay, well, let's
Oh, I'm
let's
sorry. I thought we were all here.
put you on hold for a little while then, and I'll deal with some other cases, and we'll put you back in the waiting room and until your attorney comes in.
Okay, that sounds
Okay.
great. I'll put y'all back in the waiting room. Thank y'all.
Thanks. I guess I hit the wrong button.
No, you have to tell.
Okay, we'll proceed here with that.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I'm on a phone though with no picture.
Okay, and what case number are you calling for?
20 is JP 4 2020-647-011. My link, I
Are
called
you
my
an
link.
attorney?
I'm in Lubbock,
I know, no, who are you with? What's the name?
Cindy Hill. I'm the attorney, and my link won't work. I called the court, and it's in a new one.
And the case number again?
2020-647-011.
It's the attorney for the other one. Okay, I'm going to get you checked in.
Lisa, can
Okay, am I going to only be able to do it by phone? I need an email. I'm the attorney with all the exhibits.
Okay, well, the email is the Rose.Rodriguez with Q.
I
at-
guess it came
Lubbock.
from Savannah. It came from Savannah. I asked for a link, and I forwarded it to my client, and she was able to do it. I've done multiple Zoom hearings with the county judge and all the higher courts, and
Let me see if I
The-
can get you the.
it's not highlighted in blue where you can click. It's all black. And I
see what
checked
you're
it the other
saying.
day and it worked. So I don't know. That's why I was asking.
I'm
for a
wondering
new-
if you're using the wrong
That you'd like to start
the
with.
wrong the wrong ID.
I think the first one is 62601.
Judge, you
I have
you can mute. Can you?
I
mute?
have the email from Savannah.
Midland versus.
Yeah, Savannah
it's
does
all
eviction.
black.
I don't think it's going to work. Hold on just a second and let me see if I can find the number of the meeting that you need to be in.
I have the number of the meeting.
Okay.
And what I can tell the court is the first paragraph of my instruction says, please request a continuance. If the judge is not leaning toward a continuance, please move for a judgment with the available dockets, which I think we have that. So if the court decides they want to try to go ahead and clear this off the docket, then I'll present the paperwork and see if we can get a judgment.
Yes, why don't we do that?
If I may approach.
I'd rather, yes, if you'll approach, please. I'd rather get these out of the way.
Very well, Your Honor.
My two clerks that are,
There's the proposed final judgment along with the affidavit and the other supporting documents. And we're asking for a judgment in the amount, I believe, 3336.98.
okay, let's see here. Sorry, we're so disorganized this morning. My two clerks that are familiar with this are both out today. And my civil clerk, Rose, had been gone for 4 days with a funeral. So
Okay, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a number here. So when you log on, it does it say debt/small claims, and the member ID or the meeting ID is 9.
Well-
the citation has not served. Do you have evidence of,
Can you hear me?
Well, I keep hearing the judge.
I know I
Yeah.
muted him. I'm sorry. He's hearing some cases in
Okay.
the actual
And
courtroom.
what I'm trying to explain is,
I'm just trying to make sure you have the right ID. So if you will, when you
Well,
log on,
okay, if I could just finish a statement. I have the email from Savannah on November 3rd. I forwarded it to my client. She's in the waiting room. The entire email on my computer is all in black. It doesn't have the highlighted blue to click the links. So all I could do was go on my smartphone, bring up the email, and hit a phone number. And that's all I've been able to do. I've got the ID number.
okay, you
but
just don't have the.
For some reason, I'm wondering.
Well, I'm not.
if when
I'm not going to. I'm just trying to help you with getting.
Well, that's why I asked if you could resend the link on my email and see if it's in blue. I can click in and enter the number. I've done.
I don't
these
have
multiple
Savannah's
times.
email. That's the problem.
Well, I do. Oh, Well,
I'm
Can you
gonna,
not
I'm
send the
just
link?
helping, I'm just helping get everybody logged into the Zoom meetings. I actually do tickets. So I am just trying to see what,
well,
when you log on to Zoom, go to the HTTPS.
right. Go ahead and call it out again, and I'll try it because I was searching on the internet how to do it again. What is it? H what?
HTT. It would be a lot
Yeah.
easier with the link. Why don't you just give me your email and we'll see if I can just send you that.
That would be good. That's what I was asking for at 8:30.
What's the email?
CG Hill Law at sbcglobal.net. That's C as in cat, G as in goat, H as in hat, I as in igloo, L as in llama, L as in llama, L as in llama, A as in apple, W as in wagon, at S as in Sam, B as in boy, C as in cat, global.net. I forwarded it. Something went wrong and it's all black.
So
Just won't allow me to put
CG, you said CGH?
climb a hill. CG Hill Law. And that's 3 L's in a row.
Got it. Okay.
At
Hold on just a second.
SBC Global. And I'll go back to my email and watch for it. It's just weird. I've never had this happen.
I just sent you a test email just to make sure I have the correct email and then I'll. What are we looking at?
I'm watching.
Okay.
I'm just wondering when I forwarded all that if it messed up the links on mine. I've never had that. Are you Lisa?
Yes, I'm Lisa.
Okay, the test came through.
Perfect. So I'm going to try to grab the link. I know it's the link that she grabbed from our.
Well, what's weird is I forwarded it to my client and she's on, but mine just went all black. And I've never had that happen on any of my other Zooms, but because that's what we do, we forward them to our clients.
Right.
I got no clue. I
I'm
opened
working
it
on it.
the
I'm
other.
working on it.
Yeah. When I get those in, I always click on them to make sure they work. And it worked a couple of days ago. Then I forwarded it. So who knows?
Oh, this is a whole new process for all of us. So I'm thank you
Yeah.
for your
Well, see,
patience.
mine was all set up for. I do a lot in county court 3 and 2 and county judge, and I did all of those. I just click on the link. I was all set up and downloaded the whole bit.
Right.
It's
right.
weird.
No, I definitely like the link. I sent you one.
All right,
So.
okay, let me see what happens here. Here it is. Let me see. I'm clicking on the link. Think it might work. It's looking like it would. It's launch meeting. Should take me to a waiting room. Okay, I'm on.
Perfect.
Join with video. Just giving me okay. Join
Sure.
with video. I
Yeah, it
do.
just takes a little bit.
Yeah, it's connecting.
Yeah, I see you now. I'm going to admit you into the court.
The court of the waiting room. Where are
Well,
we
not
at?
court.
We're just in the waiting room still.
Yeah, you're just in the waiting room. Okay. You have a bird.
Yes, sir.
Just a sec.
I
I think I need to hang up, don't I?
Yes, hang on.
Okay, I'm
Okay, I'm
gonna
gonna hang up on the phone.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, I'm going to rename your login just so we know. Okay, I'm going to let the judge know that we are ready. We've got everyone, and then we will all back in the waiting room, okay?
Okay.
I mean, into the court. So, bear with us. Judge, I muted you, so you might want to, I don't know how to unmute yourself. Okay, I'm admitting everyone in for case number 2020-647011. You won't see a picture of me, but let me. Okay, let me get with the judge. Hold on just a second.
Move this mouse so I don't hit anything.
Hopefully I'm up. Okay.
You're on.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Let's see here.
It's turn.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's see. Cause number 2020-647-011. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Baron Sean Black Jr.,
Yes, sir.
General Logistics,
Yes, sir.
okay, versus Quinn's Diesel.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the attorney is representing,
Cindy G. Hill representing Tom Quinn with Quinn's Diesel LLC.
okay. I'll let the plaintiffs have an opening statement. And we'll first swear everyone in here. Let's see, we've got there. You'll raise your right hands, please, to be sworn in this morning. You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. I'm having partial live and partial Zoom hearing, so that's why I'm wearing a mask
Yes, sir.
even on the Zoom hearing there. And okay, if the plaintiffs will present their opening statements, please.
So in May of 2019, me and my wife purchased a 2002 Kenworth W900L. In July of 2019, I was in Nebraska and had a coolant line bust on me. I had fixed the coolant line on the side of the road, got the truck back to Lubbock, and went out to start the truck, and it wouldn't start. I had first thought it was a starter. I called Tom to see if he could put a starter on it. He told me that he was pretty busy that day, but had a friend that could do it. His friend came over, put the starter on. We tried to start the truck and still couldn't get it to start. Tom then came to our house and looked at the truck and informed me that the truck was hydrolocked. He said that he could get it into his shop. It would be over the weekend. It would take him a little bit to get to it, but he would. We took the truck over to him. We needed the head to be tested. I thought it would go to a machine shop here in Lubbock. He informed me that it needed to go to Abilene. He had, I guess, had some bad business with the machine shop here in Lubbock. And it going to Abilene was going to take a little more time. A friend of mine told me that if I would go to Caterpillar and purchase the head on his account, I could then make payments to just speed the process up. Mr. Quinn got the head on the truck. I got it picked up. The first trip out, I noticed that it had an oil leak and it had a check engine light on the truck. That very next morning, I took it back to Mr. Quinn. He informed me that he had fixed the oil leak, and he did. And he had told me that the check engine light was due to the truck was saying our timing was off, but he assured me that the timing was correct. He told me I needed to take the truck to a Cat shop or a dealership and that they could flash the code and it would go away. I did do that and the code did go away. It was around December 1st of 2019. I was in Arkansas. I had pulled over and slept for the night. The next morning I woke up, was getting fuel. I had lifted my hood and was checking my oil coolant, and I had given a picture to everybody that there was coolant dripping down the block from the bottom of the head. I called. The first thing that went through my mind was I was scared that something was wrong with the head. I had just spent, close to $4,000 on this head. I was wanting to make sure that if it could be warranted, it would be warranted. I wouldn't have to spend another $4,000 on a head. What they told me is that the truck could not go to Tom's shop because he's not a CAT authorized dealer, and it had to go to Caterpillar. I got the truck back to Lubbock. I took it to Caterpillar, where they informed me that they didn't have a shop. They said that it needed to go to Lubbock Truck Sales, Peterbilt, Kenworth, or any other CAT certified dealership. I had taken the truck to Lubbock Truck Sales. They had done an inspection on it, and what they had informed me that I either had a liner drop or that the head was installed incorrectly previously. They had given me a quote to do the work. They said that the head would not be covered under warranty because the head was either installed incorrectly or I had a liner drop. They gave me a quote to fix the truck, and it was more money than I could afford to spend to have it repaired. So I told them that I would have to take it back to Quinn's Diesel. Caterpillar informed me that they thought I should get a second opinion. What they told me is that I am putting a lot of trust into a shop to tell me that either the head was installed correctly on their part or that I had a liner drop. They said more than likely he's going to tell you had a liner drop even if you didn't, and that's $25,000, $30,000. That's something that I could not afford. I took Caterpillar's words to heart, and I took the truck to Andrews Diesel, where he got to work on it. As he started tearing the truck apart, he would call me and tell me things such as the head bolts were done wrong. It didn't look like he had taken the spacer plate off. Everything that he told me was wrong. I took pictures of and made sure that I documented it. I'm not a mechanic. I wouldn't begin to know any of these things. All I can do is go by what I'm told by experts. Let me see here. I'm sorry, I lost my place. What was that? Yeah, Andrews Diesel quoted me $2,400, and they said that was a ballpark price. If I, in actuality, did have a liner dropped, then it would be far more money. He got to work on it with all the evidence that, he had called and told me how the work was done wrong. Me and my wife then reached out to Tom Quinn to inform him that we were told the work was done incorrectly, and it's kind of gone on from here. Something that, I was told that on some of the head bolts, it took 4 grown men to break apart the head bolts, where others would take 1. Now, I'm not a mechanic. I know that even Tom Quinn had told me that, torquing the head is a very important part. You've got to do it in a pattern, and it has to be torqued down. I believe it's 3 times. I'm not a mechanic. But he said that alone would have been cause enough for the head to have failed. I put the truck back in the shop, got it fixed. I had ran the truck for, I believe it was somewhere around 20,000 miles. I was offered a load going to California, and I couldn't take the load because the truck wasn't legal to go to California. That was the first thing that put it in my mind that I needed to sell the truck. Right around this time, we had a pipe bust in our house, and me, my wife, and kids were living in a hotel room. I had a seal leaking from the drive line, so I parked the truck at Rocking TA and started driving one of his trucks. I put a for sale sign on it. The gentleman that I bought the truck from originally had a friend that bought the truck. He owned the truck for, I want to say, right around a month, and got in contact with me and told me that a liner had dropped on the truck. The first thing that I did was I gave him all the information to Andrews Diesel so he could take the truck back to see if anything was going to be covered under warranty. I then talked to Mr. Andrews and asked him, you know, you said you inspected these liners, that these liners were okay. And he said he did, and it was one of the deals where a liner had dropped on the truck. He said that that couldn't be helped. You know, I just feel that I've, you know, I spent a lot of money to have the work done once. The work failed, and I had to pay to have the work done over again. The CAT certified technician told me that one of two things had happened, that either the head was installed incorrectly or the liners had dropped. Andrews Diesel tells me that they checked the liners and the liners were okay, and then told me that the head failed because of the work that Mr. Quinn had done.
Your Honor, I would like to object to some of this opening statement as hearsay unless he does have some witnesses present. I've kind of let him go on, but much of this is actual testimony. And I'd have to say a lot of this is hearsay from third.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, sir.
I have invoices from Andrews Diesel and Lubbock Truck Sales that I had. We had dropped a binder off yesterday at your office.
Yes, I'm at it now.
Okay. We have invoices from Lubbock Truck Sales where this is the certified Caterpillar technician that is informing us that the head was either installed correctly or a liner dropped. We also have the invoice from Andrews Diesel, I'm sorry, where he informs us that he checked the liners and they were all within specifications. And then I also took pictures, you know, to try and prove this. I didn't feel that it was just a statement. I feel like I was told what was wrong and I have evidence to back it up.
Okay, hold on just a moment. Let me ask you a question. Have you provided these documents and these pictures to the defendants?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
It's Miss Hill, and I'm just objecting to actual testimony in an opening statement. If we
have the documents that he's
correct, and I have supplied yesterday by email as instructed by your court staff. I sent in 6 exhibits on an email yesterday afternoon, which a lot of those were his. I just would rather do it not under an opening statement, but direct testimony.
I understand. And I think we can proceed now. I'll take that under consideration. I think we'll proceed now with your opening statement.
Okay. Your Honor, I did file an amended answer, and I emailed it this morning. It basically was a change in entity name, and I didn't get all of the discovery until really yesterday with the pictures in its totality, and was able to discuss with my client yesterday afternoon. So I did amend my answer with an affirmative defense with the duty to mitigate as the affirmative defense. Our claim as a defense is, of course, we filed a general denial. He did come in and fix it. In short, he drove it for 4 months, approximately. not 5. And he has asked for claims on outside the warranty and also after 40,000 miles have been driven. And we feel like he should have contacted us, given us the opportunity to even view the head and the engine. And instead, we were never contacted, and he sold the truck. Never had an opportunity to even view it. And now that the truck has been sold, and we will show in testimony that he made a profit. And we're ready to proceed. We would ask for attorney fees.
May I say something, Your Honor?
You may ask a question of the witness, of the defendant, if you would like to do that at this time.
Ms. Hill, you're saying that we had not given you the, I guess, discovery. We have emails and proof that we have sent this 3 weeks ago. We also
Actually-
showed up at the pretrial with all evidence in hand in case there was anything wrong to give to y'all that day. And we didn't see y'all.
Well, and I'm sorry, I dispute the 3 weeks. I can go back on my phone while someone's testifying and look at the actual emails. But if you will recall, over the last 2 days, I have been emailing you back and forth so we could view those pictures.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not denying that we got all the information, but until I had it in my totality, I couldn't sit down with the client. I think at this point, I mean, we have it. We're not disputing it, but I just filed that answer early this morning because until we could view all the pictures together between me and my client, and I do appreciate it because you did forward direct to Tom Quinn so that he could open them and view them.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I'm not disputing that we don't have it. We do have it.
Yes, ma'am. And
I'm a
that's
little-
the right thing to do is to make sure that Tom got it. My thing is I have email history and text history showing that we sent these to you 3 weeks ago and you waited
I haven't been able to
last
talk,
2 days to
Your Honor.
start working on it. I mean, that's all I was asking. I'm sorry.
We have the discovery. By the time I got it in its totality, then I had to sit down with Mr. Quinn. He had been out of town. He returned late Tuesday. We worked on it yesterday. I'm not disputing that we didn't get the discovery. I think that's a moot point. We're ready to proceed.
All right. Then, do you have questions? Would you like to ask questions of the defendant now, of the plaintiff now? Ms. Hill?
Yes, I just was making sure if he didn't want to ask Mr. Quinn something first, but I'll be glad to begin.
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Hill.
Okay. First off, if you could tell me just a little background, you stated that you weren't a mechanic.
No,
How long have you been a truck driver?
I've been a truck driver for the past 3 years, but I've been in the industry for the past 10 years.
And prior to being a truck driver, what did you do?
I was a dispatch. I worked for Robert Heath Trucking, dispatching loads. And then I worked for Fleet Pride Truck Parts, selling parts.
Okay. And are you an independent contractor now? Is that your status?
Yes, ma'am. We own our own truck and we're leased on with Rocking TA. We're a sole proprietor.
Okay. Could you repeat that about Rockin' TA? Do you?
We own the truck, but we are leased on with Rocking TA. We own the truck, but we run under his authority. He gets our loads for us.
Okay. So you contract directly with him for your loads?
Well, yes, ma'am. We haul for Lano, we haul for MTS. There's several companies that we haul for.
Okay, and what do you normally haul?
More than normal, it's produce. I do haul smooth bore milk tanks. It's kind of a split between those two.
Okay. Okay. If you will refer, if the court will refer to my defendant's exhibit number 1,
Yes.
and Mr. Black, if you will look at defendant's exhibit 1 that we forwarded you yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I tried to assimilate things by subject matter for brevity and speed. That is the Texas certification of title that you signed when you sold it in March of this year. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then also is included is when you bought the truck on May 3rd of 2019 for $25,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And then there is the check in March of 2020, March 31st, from Double K Transport, where you sold the truck for $30,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So in the span of about 10 months, you made a $5,000 profit on this truck. Is that correct?
I don't know if I would say a profit. I
Say
had,
it's a yes or no. You made $5,000 more than you paid for it, correct?
well, I also made a lot of repairs on the truck. That
Okay.
the head
Just,
not
if
being
you could
only.
just answer the question. You
I
sold
sold the
it for,
truck for more than I bought it for. Yes, ma'am.
okay, thank you. I also would like to ask, if you will look just briefly, and I'll get these introduced at defendant's exhibit. Before I go there, Your Honor, I ask that defendant's exhibit 1 be entered.
Yes, ma'am.
In defendant's exhibit 2, Mr. Black, I'm referring to some of the discovery and asking for admission to the court.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. This, do you see the work authorization from Quinn's Diesel, which you stated that you did take it in for a 2002 Kenworth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that was on 7/23 of 2019. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then behind that is just the shop work order that I think occurred the day before or the same day when you were trying to had put the starter on and it still wouldn't start. It's
Yes,
just the
ma'am.
details in the notes. Okay. And then also is the bill from Quinn's Diesel, which is on 7/31/2019
Yes,
for
ma'am.
$2205.15. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then the rest are the parts invoice that I believe you bought under Rock and TA and transported to Mr. Quinn for the work done. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, let me ask this. You sent a demand letter after you got the truck fixed by Andrews. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in that first demand letter, you stated that Mr. Quinn had, and it's a part of your original petition, that he took over 2.5 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you will look, just to count the days and including a weekend, you took it in on the 23rd and it was finished on the 31st of July. 7 days. So really there was work done on it for 5 days. Is that correct?
He had the truck. I signed those the day that I picked those up. He had in possession the truck before any of this was signed.
Pardon me, you took in the truck on the 23rd.
I don't believe we took it in on.
I don't believe. I don't believe it was the 3rd. No, ma'am. Let me see.
That was the original work order. And it was fixed on 7/31. And if you will look at exhibit on your CAT statements, you were invoiced on 8/14, I presume because it was an open account.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I take that back. If you will look at that was the credit for the deposit. If you will look at that Warren Cat Parts invoice dated 7/26, I believe is what it says.
The shop was, remember he didn't.
So would you not agree the work order was done prior to you getting the part to him? I'm just going by the paperwork, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm confused. I don't know how the work could have been done without the part.
Well, the point that I'm trying to clarify, sir, is that you brought it in on 7/23. That was a shop work order. You go and get the parts. I'm making a presumption there, how long it took to get the parts, and they were billed out and invoiced on the 26th, and it was completed on the 31st. Would you not agree, based on the paperwork?
Based upon the paperwork, yes, ma'am. I mean,
Okay, thank you. Now, so it wasn't really 2.5 weeks.
no, ma'am. I guess not.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
apologize.
All right. You are trying to, in your damages, you first asked for a flat 10,000 in your demand letter that was sent after the fact. But then in your petition, you asked for 7,165.39. Can you tell the court exactly how you came up with that figure?
Well, the first original thing, or I was thinking of lost wages, and without being able to prove the lost wages, we removed those.
So you drive how many miles a month or how many trips a month? And can you tell me that?
I could tell you how many miles, more or less how many miles I usually drive a month. It's anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 miles a week.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, I would ask that defendant's exhibit number 2 be admitted to the court.
I'll admit that.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yes, I'll admit that. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Full here in the math.
Okay, sir, so you have downtime if you're putting on 10 to 12,000 a month. I mean, any truck's gonna require maintenance and repairs.
It's usually done on the road, but yes, ma'am, I do have downtime.
Okay. That's just part of doing what you do, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's kind of like attorneys doing trial prep.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if you would look at defendant's exhibit 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the Lubbock Truck Sales Diagnostic that you referred to in your opening statement?
The CAT certified technician. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this is where you took it in for a diagnostic to find out what was wrong with it?
This is where I was told by Caterpillar the truck had to go in order to check for warranty.
Okay. And in there, they also discussed that you had transmission leaks. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you get that fixed?
I'm sure. Oh, it was Andrews Diesel that did the work on that.
In December?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Would you also notate for the court, your mileage at that point was 68,1033. Is that correct?
Hold
There
on.
on the right-hand corner of that second bar on the front of the Lubbock truck sales.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 68,000.
That doesn't sound, that's what they.
I'm
had
sorry, 681,033
said,
miles.
33. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That's what's on the invoice.
And just so the court knows, this is a 2002 truck that's had considerable miles, correct?
Yes, ma'am. The truck, it says 600,000, but it's more like 1.6 million. The truck has had a rebuilt engine, but not since I had owned it.
Okay, so if we'll refer back to Defendant's Exhibit 2 on Mr. Quinn's invoice, his mileage was 641,387.
Yes, ma'am.
You agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, and I'm just looking at the days here. You picked up the truck and paid for it on July 31st,
Yes, ma'am.
and you took it into Lubbock Truck Sales on December 4th. So approximately just a few days over 4 months. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so that's approximately 40,000 miles
Yes, ma'am.
in 4 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you are asking the court to acknowledge that after 40,000 miles and not fixing 40,000 miles, and that after you've driven it for 40,000 miles, you didn't have any problems prior to that?
I mean, none that I'm trying to seek damages for. Like you said, I mean, working on a
Where the-
truck is driving a truck is part of keeping up with it. You know, yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I would ask that Defendant's Exhibit number 3 be admitted.
I've admitted that.
Okay. I'm trying to move through this, Mr. Black.
You're fine.
Okay. If you will refer to Defendant's Exhibit 4.
Yes, ma'am.
Just briefly, these are all the parts invoices that you bought and then subsequently had Andrews Diesel fix. Is that correct?
These were the parts that Andrews Diesel told me they needed so the head could be done correctly. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And you had that fixed on, it went in, or it was invoiced on 12/16.
Yes, ma'am.
So from 12/4 to 12/16, is that when Andrews worked on this?
Yes, ma'am.
And you sent this one to a machine shop, is that correct?
Andrews Diesel, what I was told by Andrews Diesel is that the head had been torqued down so tight, it impregnated rings around the cylinders, and the head had to be taken to a machine shop and milled down so that it would seal, is what I was told.
Okay. Well, let's talk about what he's put in his invoice.
Okay.
Okay. That it was leaking the antifreeze,
Yes, ma'am.
and he removed the head and found the head bolts were torqued, which is what you said.
Yes, ma'am.
I would have to object to anything more that he said other than this, and that the center plate was replaced. And if we refer back to Defendant's Exhibit 3, Lubbock Truck Sales Diagnostics showed that it could be a low liner or an install. Would you not agree?
Yes, ma'am, that's what I was told.
Okay. And Lubbock Truck Sales for $355.84 didn't tear off that head and tear down everything, did they?
No, ma'am, they didn't.
Okay. So they had no idea one way or the other what what caused the problem.
I would take their word.
They're certified.
That's the certified
That's who does the
cat
warranty.
technician. That's,
But my question was, they didn't diagnose specifically without tearing it down. They said it was one or the other problems, low liner or install, correct?
yes, ma'am.
That's what it says in their diagnostic
Yes, ma'am.
right here.
Yes, ma'am. I was told to take the truck to that shop to have the warranty checked to see if the head didn't have to be bought again.
Sir,
And that's what.
I'm just asking what Lubbock Truck Sales said.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm telling you.
Right, it was one or the other. They didn't break it down, tear it down to discover it. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go back to the Andrews. He states that the bolts were torqued, correct?
He said they were torqued at different specifications is what he had told me.
Okay. And he talked about head was pressure tested and so forth. All right. Your Honor, I would ask that defendant's exhibit number 4 be admitted.
David?
Mr. Black, if you will refer to exhibit number 5.
Okay.
From Roberts Truck Center.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain to the court why on December 24th,
Yeah.
you included this invoice after Andrews Diesel completed their work on 12/16 and invoiced you?
No, ma'am. This part was bought before, oh, I'm sorry. You were talking about Quinn's. I'm sorry. I was thinking Andrews. With the compressor, Andrews Diesel had called me and told me that whenever they were moving the compressor to start work, that as soon as they had untightened, I guess, a bolt on the compressor, that it had leaked Freon. What he said is that whenever, I guess, Mr. Quinn had put the compressor on, he said that he thinks that he had over torqued it and cracked the compressor. He said that he is not sure how the Freon would have stayed in there unless the bolt had made a complete seal of it. But like I said, all I can do is go by what I'm told by mechanics.
And is it your testimony today that Freon would have stayed in there for 40,000 miles and then come out?
Well, whenever I first picked the truck up from Mr. Quinn, there was no Freon in the AC. I did have to take the truck to Love's and have it filled with AC or with Freon. So, and it did hold.
Okay. And when was that? What approximate date?
Roughly the next following day, maybe the second day after I had picked the truck up.
Okay. But you're saying 40,000 miles later, it was leaking.
What he had told me, whenever he loosened a bolt, it had sprayed Freon out into the air. He said that he thought the bolt was what was keeping the seal.
Okay. Your Honor, I would ask did I ask for exhibit 5 to be admitted?
Not yet.
I asked that it be admitted. I apologize.
It's admitted.
Mr. Black, let's just look at defendant's exhibit 6 if we could. I included this exhibit just so that we could refer easily to the mileages where you've already testified to the Quinn's mileage invoice of 641,387.
Yes, ma'am.
And also Lubbock Truck Sales
Yes, ma'am.
at the 681,000. And then the last sheet is a trip sheet, whereby I guess you have to put your mileage down,
Yes,
and
yes,
it
ma'am.
stated March 13th at the time you sold the truck. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then it had 702,653 miles. Is
After
that
that, yes, after that trip. Yes,
as
ma'am.
of March 13th?
Yes, ma'am.
So you got the truck back the first of the year or end of December from Andrews, correct? So in another 2.5 months, you'd put on another 20,000 miles by the time you sold it.
Yes, ma'am.
You testified that you parked it and sold it, but you were actually making a living out of it, were you not?
No, you were.
No, at that point in time, whenever we had a pipe busted in our house, when that pipe busted in our house, that truck did have a leak coming from a seal for the drive line. I parked the truck at Travis Anderson's house and then drove his truck until my new truck was purchased, until I sold the 2002 Kenworth and bought my new truck.
So is it your testimony today that this trip sheet does not reflect the mileage of the Kenworth truck?
No, it does. That was the final trip that I took in that truck before.
So
I
there
sold-
was another 20,000 miles
No.
driven on it since Andrews Diesel at, is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
not correct?
The mileage on the trip sheet is
Ma'am.
the last trip we took. That's the
I
mileage.
object, Your Honor. She can't testify. She hadn't been under oath.
She,
I did go under oath.
ma'am, I'm sorry, I've never done anything like this, but the trip sheet was the final load that I took in that truck. That truck was parked at Travis Anderson's house, and I did drive a different truck, one of his trucks, and was a driver for him until that truck was sold.
Okay. I'm going to repeat the question one more time, just so we're all clear.
Yes, ma'am.
The 702,653 mileage on the trip sheet is for the mileage for the truck in question of this lawsuit. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if we look back at Lubbock truck sales on December 4th, there was 681,033 miles.
Yes, ma'am.
So there was another additional 20,000 and some odd miles.
After the work was done at Andrews, yes,
Correct.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And you
Yes.
did continue to drive it some.
After the work was done at Andrews, yes, ma'am, I did.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay, I'm sorry. I misunderstood that. I
Alright,
apologize.
No problem. Your Honor, I ask that defendant's exhibit number 6 be admitted.
It is admitted.
Okay, Mr. Black, do you anticipate or expect that you can just drive 10, 12,000 miles, wait 4 months before something's fixed if it went wrong?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is it your testimony that you think that head was not working through those first 40,000 miles?
No, and I've said this before, like when it comes to the in and out of the truck, like the motor and engine, I'm not an expert. All I can do is hire experts to inform me what they think and then go by their words.
Okay. And it was your testimony in your opening statement that after Mr. or Andrews Diesel fixed it, the low liner went out, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that's when you decided to sell the truck.
No,
The liner's off.
no, ma'am. The liner dropped after I sold the truck, and yes, ma'am. No,
All
the
right.
truck
Then,
had just gotten out of the shop, and I had literally ran it for
wait.
20,000 miles.
Okay, you had run 20,000. Did you put it back in the shop before
No,
in
ma'am.
March?
So no, ma'am. So Literally, there was a leak coming from the seal for the drive line is what originally got me to park the truck.
And what date was that?
That
Last
was,
trip
yeah.
we took.
That would have been the last trip that I had taken in that truck. Yes, ma'am.
Which was when?
March
March.
13th.
The March 13th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, but your testimony and statements earlier were that the low liner did go out.
That's what I was, yes, ma'am. That's what I was
Okay.
told.
And that is what Lubbock Truck Sales could have been the problem back in December in their diagnostic. It says low liner or install. Is that correct?
That Caterpillar did say
Yes
that.
or no?
Yes, ma'am. They said that could have been a problem.
Okay. So other than hearsay that we've heard today, you don't really know what would have happened if Lubbock Truck Sales had torn that machine apart, would you? Do you?
No, ma'am. I honestly don't.
Your Honor, I'll pass the witness in case the court has any questions. At this time, I reserve the right to recall if needed.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, what'd you say, Your Honor?
I said thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Black, when you first purchased the mile, roughly 640,000, was that the mile?
Whenever I purchased, I'm sorry.
When you purchased the truck, was the mileage 640,000 roughly?
No, sir. Whenever I originally purchased the truck, and the original mileage whenever we bought it.
Was that 640,000, that was the mileage when you took the truck in to Quinn's Diesel?
Yes, sir.
And what was your prior mileage on when you purchased it?
That she's grabbing that right now, Your Honor. I didn't know to have that. When we originally bought the truck, it had 610,555 or 616. I'm sorry, that looked like that was the original miles on the truck when we purchased it. It's from a trip sheet.
Okay. Okay. You drove it approximately 24,000 miles and then had this problem.
Yes, sir.
And
Could you give us the date of that trip sheet
Yes, ma'am.
or when you purchased it?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we have that date. I apologize. In Defendant's Exhibit 1, you purchased it.
The first trip that the truck ran was on 5/9 of 2019.
And you purchased it on 5/3 by the cashier's check.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I just wanted to get that straight.
that's fine. I have no further questions for Mr. Black. Mr. Black, would you like to redirect any questions to the defendant?
I mean, Mr. Quinn, how long do you think on average a head should last on a truck?
If taken care of properly, and run properly, it should last 70, 80,000 miles pretty easy.
I'm sorry?
70, 80,000 miles if it's driven and taken care of properly.
For the life of the head?
Would be a good expectation, yes, sir.
I've got a 2013 Peterbilt right now that has 800,000 miles on
No,
it.
excuse me, 700, excuse me. Say that again?
I've got a 2013 Peterbilt right now that's got 800,000 miles on it and still has the original head.
Well, let me correct myself. I meant 700 to 800,000.
700,000 to 800,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I misspoke.
No, no.
If the truck's taken care of and driven properly, yes.
Yes, sir. Thank
There's a
you.
lot of,
All right. Do you have any further questions?
No, sir, I don't.
Then I'll ask for closing statements at this time. Mr. Black, you can proceed with the closing statement.
Okay. You know, I don't feel that I'm, trying to ask anything unfair, Your Honor. I did. I bought a truck. I had the work done. I'm not a mechanic myself. I'm not. I just like I hired Mr. Quinn to tell me what was wrong with the truck in the first place. And whenever it happened again, that's all I can do is hire somebody that's going to give me hopefully a straight story, Your Honor. Now, as far as the dates and Your Honor, I'm on a truck quite a bit. You know, I wish I would have literally been a little bit more prepared today than I am. But I did. I paid to have a job done that failed after 4 months, right around Christmas. I sat there, I watched my kids not have Christmas presents Christmas morning. Now, I think that's probably what has started the whole thing, is I paid to have the same job done twice.
Is there further, sir?
No, sir, that's my only statement.
Closing statement from the defendant?
Your Honor, I have a witness and wanted to have some testimony from Mr. Quinn.
Oh, absolutely. You're able to read the
What I would like to do, if I could, is call the witness so that he might can go on back to work, if that's possible. Mr. Quinn, is he still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, I would like to call in Daniel Kidwell. I believe he is in the
One second.
waiting room.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
You see, he's in the location, okay, and he's in the room?
Yeah, he's right here.
Oh, he's right there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn.
Sorry, Your Honor.
See him.
And sir, what is your name?
Daniel Kidwell.
Daniel Kidwell. If you'll raise your right hand, please, to be sworn in. You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You may proceed with questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Kidwell, you are here today to testify based on your mechanic experience. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You currently work for Matco Tools. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Prior to Matco, and how long have you been with Matco?
4 years.
Pardon me?
4 years.
Okay. Would you please tell the court your experience as a mechanic on semi trucks and all the different variations prior to the Matco?
Yes, ma'am. I had 7 years experience at Bruckner's Mack and Volvo dealership. And then I had 5 years experience after that at the West Texas Peterbilt. And then we got bought out by Rush Truck Center. I was one of their engine mechanics and diagnostic mechanics at West Texas Peterbilt.
Okay. And did you work for them after the buyout also?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how many years as a diesel mechanic would you state that you had?
Just on heavy trucks, about 11 total diesel work. I worked at a coal mine and a John Deere dealership before that, so about 14, 15.
Okay. And now at Matco, do you supply the parts to the same mechanics, or what do you currently do with Matco?
I supply tools to different shops and body shops around town.
All right. So you're familiar with the exhibit of Quinn Diesel's invoice, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you also have looked at the Andrews diesel invoice, is that correct?
Correct.
And the Lubbock truck sales diagnostic?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And one of the questions, and I'll let you elaborate if we can keep it fairly short. Can those bolts be torqued, as Andrews Diesel said, and still work and drive for 40,000 miles?
Not without
It was
immediate.
fixed.
Not without it immediately start leaking. Typically, if there's an issue with a head torque, they usually start leaking as soon as the truck warms up.
Okay. Could it have leaked during those full 4 months and 40,000 miles?
If he wasn't
You're
paying attention
operating?
to it, if he wasn't paying attention to it, possible. But the thing I saw on Andrews is said it had to have 7,000ths milled off the head. That means there was warpage, and typically that means it was overheated.
I'm sorry, it was overheated?
Yeah, if the head has to be milled for either warpage or damage to the head, it's either the protrusion of the liner hitting it, which would be the low liner issue. The liner keeps coming up because there's space underneath it, and it will hit the head and actually put a ring in the head, or there's warpage, one or the other.
Okay. And we've heard testimony that the low liner did go out eventually, right after he
Correct.
found it. Is it correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did such leakage, could that be due to lack of maintenance and so forth?
Probably not lack of maintenance, probably lack of watching the temperatures on the vehicle.
So when it overheats, you stop it and get it fixed or looked at right away?
Correct.
And it's your testimony that that would happen within a time frame or so many miles? Could you tie that down?
If it was going to leak because of improper install, then it would probably happen within the first 1,000 miles, within the first 100 miles.
Okay. And what would be the signs that it was within those first 100 miles?
Coolant consumption. He would have low coolant a lot.
Okay. And you'd be
It would either be-
constantly,
It'd either be leaking into the cylinder head or it'd be leaking out the side of the block.
okay. All right. You've heard the testimony and reviewed the diagnostic and the invoices. Do you have any clear picture or can prove what was wrong with the truck 4 months after it left Quinn's Diesel?
The only thing I saw on the diagnostics from LTS, the biggest point is they were talking about low liner, and he did not give authorization to have them tear down. Being a technician that worked at a certified CAT shop, you have to tear down to get CAT to pay for the warranty. You can't take it to independent and get a second opinion. You have to have it tore down at that CAT facility, at a CAT approved facility. And the liner protrusion on those, if the block was not cut at the original overhaul, which he stated that it was overhauled before he purchased it, then more than likely he had pitting underneath the liners, and that's what caused it to fail.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Black, you may question the witness.
Yes, sir. So what I'm having a hard time understanding is, is there any, so you are for sure 100% that truck would show that it's overheating? Because even when the head cracked originally, it came back from Nebraska, the truck never overheated.
I said there was two things that could possibly cause a reason for a head to be milled. 7,000 is quite a bit of metal cut off the head. The protrusion, the liner, low liner, and warpage because of overheating.
Warpage because of overheating. I've never seen the truck overheat. Even when the head was cracked, the truck should have overheated and never overheated. I wish I knew more about engines. I really do. I have no more questions.
Just one more for the witness, Your Honor. So if it never overheated, then based on what you just said, it would be the low liner issue.
Correct. There'll be a gap underneath the liner, will cause it to come down during the power stroke event. And then when it comes up again for the compression event, it'll actually pull that liner up just a couple thousandths and it'll start beating into the head, which would cause you to have to mill it.
So, so then why would my mechanic tell me that he inspected the liners and that the liners all checked out?
Did he remove the liners and the pistons to inspect underneath them?
I don't understand. I don't know fully how he did it. All I can do is go by what he informed me that he.
You can check your protrusion on those cylinders. But if it would have been at a CAT certified shop, like if it would have been brought to me, then I would have had to say, we have to pop the cylinders on those spots where the head was impregnated, because that would mean that it has movement on that cylinder. So you'd have to pop the liner and piston out, and you would more than likely see pitting or wear underneath the liner.
Okay, so in other words, I mean, different mechanics, you're gonna get different stories, different results. You're gonna be told different things. Is that correct? I have
Depends on if they're honest or not, or if they're properly trained.
So far, I've got Quinn's Diesel telling me one thing. I've got Diesel telling me one thing. I've got you telling me another, and I'm the one that's having to spend the money. You know.
The reason.
Is there a question?
I'm sorry.
Is there a question for the witness?
It's just why out of 3 mechanics is there 3 different stories? You know, especially if I'm the one that's having to write the check, you know?
Are you asking if the witness is agreeing with Mr. Quinn, or that or are you saying that he is presenting a different diagnosis from Mr. Quinn?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm getting different stories about this engine from everybody, you know?
I don't think that's a question for the witness.
That's correct, Mr. Black. Right now, you're questioning the witness.
I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Right.
No more questions then.
More questions? Okay.
Just a couple. Just so that everyone is clear, you were a CAT certified technician to do the diagnostics like Lubbock Truck Sales did, correct?
I was not a CAT certified. I was a PACCAR and Hino certified technician. I worked at a CAT certified shop. Typically, at a dealership, you do not have everybody get certified, because then you would have 20-something mechanics have to be certified across the board. You typically have 2 to 3 get certified, and then the others would have partial certifications.
And you had certifications by other companies?
Yes, ma'am. I had certifications by PACCAR, Cummins, Hino, Mack, and Volvo.
Okay. And from what I took from your testimony is you coincide with Lubbock Truck Sales Diagnostic, low liner or head gasket, and you have fallen towards the low liner in your testimony. Is that correct?
Correct. I've overhauled a lot of CAT motors, and I've only seen impressions like that on the head from a liner moving up and down.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay. Witness may step down then.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Miss, do you have any other witnesses then?
Yes, Your Honor. Briefly, Mr. Quinn. Mr. Quinn, you've heard the testimony today from Mr. Black. He agreed that after he fixed this truck with Andrews, that he sent you the demand letter and then later filed suit.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he at any time in December, end of November, or contact you about the head and the repair?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever give you an opportunity to look at the engine, fix it, check it out, anything?
No, ma'am.
There was one time the day after he left the shop that there was an oil issue. Is that correct?
Correct.
And from that time forward, you never heard from Mr. Black on any problems?
No, ma'am.
Very briefly, because I think we've covered a lot of the testimony that you were probably going to go over. What is it your consensus that that truck could not be driven 40,000 miles and it be an inside problem?
Correct.
Do you have anything to add to that question?
When we do an overhaul, an in-frame rebuild, anything, I test run. I put the trucks under an extreme condition as best as possible. Now, I didn't have a trailer for that truck, so I couldn't load it up 40,000 pounds with a trailer and really test it, but I did drive it. I allowed it to run up to temperature. Everything was checked, coolant levels, oil levels, pressures, everything. I wouldn't have released it if there was an issue.
And
All
it's your
Sorry.
testimony that if it had been a head installation faulty, that it would have happened in the first 1,000 or 2,100 miles?
Yes, ma'am. It would, if the head was installed incorrectly or the head bolts were torqued incorrectly, as Andrew's diesel is stating, that thing wouldn't have lasted through the first load. There's a slight possibility he could have bobtailed that truck without a trailer and the head's not leak or coolant lines leak or anything like that. But as soon as that truck is put under a load, driving down the highway, it would have showed up.
Okay. If Mr. Black had contacted you, even in December, would you have offered to look at it?
Yes, ma'am.
Your warranty on the work that you did in July, how long of a warranty did you have?
30 days.
You're being sued for money that you never even had a chance to look at, fix, or mitigate the damages.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're asking that the court dismiss the suit and award attorney's fees?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel like you're just being asked to pay for a lot of miles and a lot of repair work that doesn't involve the work you did?
Yes, ma'am.
You've heard the testimony. Do you concur, based on all the testimony here, that it indeed could have been the low liner?
Oh, yes, ma'am. 100%.
I have nothing further.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Black, you may ask questions of the witness now.
Okay, so he had said that he had done a strenuous test of the truck and ran it under extreme conditions before releasing it. And when I picked the truck up, if you had done that, wouldn't you have found the check engine light on the truck? Wouldn't you have found that it was leaking oil?
Check engine light, yes. And I did mention that to you when you came to pick the truck up. Engine oil leak, not necessarily.
Okay, no more questions.
I have a follow-up, Your Honor. It's just so that we're clear on this oil engine light. Is that like even in the cars that perhaps civilians drive that aren't truck drivers, when you do some things with the new with all the stuff, you've got to reset it, the light, for the light to go off?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that what you're testifying occurred?
That the check engine light was on the truck? Yes, ma'am.
And what,
it was leaking. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I'm asking Mr. Quinn. Are you saying that that engine light had to be reset once the work had been performed?
It had to be reset by a CAT dealership that has a more powerful program than I have.
Okay. And you,
my system would not reset that timing light.
okay. And you advised him to take it to be reset, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And we heard testimony, and I believe his opening statement, that it did go off when it was reset. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I have nothing further of the witness.
Okay, Mr. Black, do you have any further questions for the witness?
No, sir.
Okay. Ms. Hill, do you have any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor, the only thing would be my attorney's fees
You may,
that we
you may make,
sought to
yes,
receive.
yes, you may make the presentation there. I don't, do I have anything from you on that or?
No, we do not, because I wasn't sure how long this would occur. It would be $1,900 from the beginning of this lawsuit back in earlier 2020.
$1,900. Okay. Do you have anything else to,
No, Your Honor, other than we feel like his duty, he breached that duty to mitigate and try to at least have Mr. Quinn look at it so that we could have inspected the engine. We could have talked to LTS. I mean, the general rule in Texas is there's a duty to mitigate. And we never were given that opportunity. No different than even the landlord-tenant laws. We also contend that testimony has been that something that would have been from the install would have been much earlier on and would not have survived 40,000 miles in 4 months. And it's obvious from Mr. Black's testimony that they definitely had a low liner problem, which is what the CAT certified technicians told him back in December at LTS. And so therefore we're asking that to rule in our favor and grant attorney's fees.
okay, anything further then?
Not from us.
Mr. Black, do you have anything further?
No, sir.
Based on the evidence presented, and that's all I can go on, I am going to rule for the defendant, and I am going to grant the attorney's fees also in that case. And so the defendant is relieved of any financial responsibility there, and the defendant is assessed with the $1,900 of attorney's fees cost. I apologize to all involved for the difficulties that we had initially getting started here with this, and thank you for your patience. And I think we are at a close this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can I ask, do y'all enter the, prepare the judgment?
Yes, if you will submit that to us, we will
Okay.
I will sign that later this afternoon.
That you want me to prepare the judgment?
So I would like you to prepare the judgment, please.
All right, no problem. I do have 2 more small hearings, so it might be tomorrow. Is that a problem?
That's no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I wish all of you the very best. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Stay safe.
Bye now.